It's always good business to write about something you care about, because the bigger you make it, then the more you get to write about it. And I celebrated the possibilities of new media. I wrote about things like viral media and screenagers, the digital natives, and all the many, many things that could happen as we moved into a peer-to-peer, disintermediated, creative, collective, networked culture and economy. The thing that surprised me, though, is that as more young people, especially, were born into the digital world, they tended to accept the programs they used as given circumstances rather than as creations. You know, you ask most kids, what is Facebook for? They will tell you, Facebook is here to help me make friends. Right? Whereas if you go into the boardroom of Facebook, they're not sitting there thinking, how do we help little Johnny make more friends? Right? It doesn't mean they're evil. Right? It just means, what are they doing? They're thinking, how do we monetize Johnny's relationships? How do we show a profit before we go to IPO? How do we help marketers use social networking to promote brands through the internet? That's what they're looking at. And that's what the program is biased towards. Right? This is a world in which you make friends by liking or not liking certain products. Right? This is a world in which you make a series of binary choices about yourself that help you think of yourself in terms of your consumer profile rather than any other modes of human expression. Not that it's a bad thing, it's just a particular thing. It's a biased thing. It's a universe that was created for a particular reason. And as I read all the books and participated in all the great arguments about is the net good for us or bad for us, making us smarter or stupider, making us more consumerist or less consumerist, promoting the economy or killing the economy, I started to care less about what is the digital doing to us than what are we doing to one another through the digital. Right? How are we choosing to use this? And it seemed to me that most adults, and especially most businesses, were as clueless about these technologies as the kids who are using them. Right? It sounds obvious, but I think it's worth saying it's very hard to use a technology effectively if you don't know what that technology is for. Right? It's really hard to use a program well if you don't know what the program does or how it works. Right? We see all these great examples of look at what's happening here online and there online. Look what this kid is doing. Look how this thing connected to that. And we go, ooh, I want some of that. Let me just fling my idea out there and see what happens. And you end up using the wrong tool for the wrong job. You end up with very unpredictable results. Right? How many businesses have you watched go online only to watch their prices get undercut by aggregators and they lose money and go out of business? Wait a minute, that wasn't supposed to happen. I was supposed to get an international clientele. Why did this just kill me? Right? We watch schools go online. They bring computers into the classroom, and then all of a sudden all the kids are going out on Google or Facebook rather than listening to their teacher. The teacher feels undermined that they used to be the exclusive purveyor of information. Now the kids can find answers on Wikipedia that the teacher doesn't know. And that didn't work, and the attention spans get shorter, and oh my gosh. Right? We watch government and politicians use the internet and Meetup and all of these political sites very effectively for campaigns. But they create this very high level of expectation, and they don't think, well, how could I use the internet to actually organize civic participation rather than just campaign contributions? and they end up kicked out of office faster than they could be put in because they don't understand how the medium works. So I wrote this book thinking, basically, program or be programmed. That if you don't know how the software works, you may as well be the software. You know, we got language. As little prehistoric people, we got language. We didn't just learn how to hear, we learned how to speak. Right? We got text. We didn't just learn how to read, we learned how to write. And now we get computers, and we learn how to use them, but not how to program them. And that means we're not really the users, but the used. The people programming are actually making the world in which the rest of us are attempting to operate. Now, I understand programming sounds really hard. Even knowing what programming is sounds really hard, and it sounds harder and harder as the years go by. Right? If you were lucky enough to get involved with computers in the 70s or 80s, you know that, well, programming is actually very easy. You know, in the 20 minutes it took to learn how to use a computer in 1979, you also learned how to program it. There was no difference. Using a computer was programming a computer. And then over the years, as we attempted to, well, we were doing a lot of things, but most of all, we were trying to make computers more consonant with the consumer reality, we created a great distance between programming and using. We created very easy interfaces. Until now, we're just banging on glass, right? Just dragging stuff around like toddlers, right? And it's fine. It's a great user reality. But we are very distant from the engines that we're actually using. And the less we know about what's going on behind the screen, and this is how I organized my book. Let's see if this will go forward. I think I'm too far from you. There we go. You know, if you can't open your car door, you can put it on your jaw, and when you push the button, and it will, I promise you, it amplifies the signal. It's an amazing hack, which I was going to do. If that didn't work, I was going to do this for you. If we don't want to take the 2 weeks required to pick up a basic book on programming and just learn what it is, you don't have to program your own stuff, but to know what programming is, to understand the syntax, the language, the qualities of the digital world into which we're moving, I thought we could at least consider what are the biases of new media. What are the main biases of this new medium into which we are migrating so that we can make more effective choices, more effective plans, so that we can predict with some degree of accuracy which way is this going to go, right? For example, banks, capital. The banks are confused as to why they're losing money now. Why do things suck so badly for them? If they understood the biases of digital media, one of the points made earlier today about the difference between the abundant economy and the scarcity economy, they would understand that, oh my gosh, in a digital age, there's less need for centralized capital. Right? It's just the truth. You can start a company for $2,000 and a laptop. You don't need the investment of a bank to create a big business. Meanwhile, we can have a peer-to-peer economy where people are exchanging value directly on the periphery. What happens to the centralized institutions that used to be depended upon to seed the network with capital? They're not as important. That was the dot-com boom and bust that we're finally paying for today. That's the economic problem today, is the dot-com bust. Right? We hid the dot-com bust with a real estate boom, but that was just a detour. This is what's happening now. Right? Or the primacy of centralized capital. If we understand some of the biases of new media, then we'll start to understand a bit more of what's happening and gain